everybody and welcome to my studio. This is the first video I've ever done in my studio, so I'm pretty excited to be here, and I've got very good reason to be in front of the camera today. So we're all very excited to bring the Artisan Stone Effects paint to you, mainly because it is so easy. It's a real game changer, as one of our retailers mentioned. You know, you can literally make anything turn into a stone effect, and not only just look like stone but also feel like stone. Now, over the years we've taught many people to do stone effects in chalk paint to make it look like stone, but this product is something completely different. It makes a surface look like stone, it makes it feel like stone, and not only that, it's indoor and outdoors, so it's suitable for both indoors and outdoor projects, which really just opens the scope up to so many things. There's just so many things that you can use this on, and you know, it's endless really when you start thinking about it. You know, we're talking mirrors, we're talking terracotta pots, we're talking garden seats, walls, benches, furniture, you know, tabletops, the tops of sideboards, decor, candlesticks, vases. It just goes on and on, and I think the most exciting thing that our retailers and that I feel about this product is that you don't need a lot of skill to use it. You know, doesn't take ages to create a stone effect. We've done all the hard work. It's all in the can. You just need to pop it open and use it. It's as simple as that. One of our retailers, you know, on her first try, mentioned that it was so easy that it was ridiculous, and that was a really great way to explain it because it is so easy. So I'm jumping on the video today to show you just exactly how easy it is to create an Artisan Stone effect, because seeing is believing, right? So I'm super excited to have this out there and have people, you know, just have that freedom to kind of just create, be creative, and turn whatever they want into an Artisan Stone effect. In the range there's 4 different neutrals that you can use. Now these are all beautifully crafted in the colour room. They work beautifully indoors and outdoors. Colours obviously change quite dramatically depending on whether it's, you know, used inside or outside. So all of these colours have been tested in different lighting, both indoors and outdoors, and they're beautiful on their own, or they can be used to be mixed and blended together. So they're designed to work together as well as on their own. All very natural, neutral kind of colours that you do find in stones or natural stones. So there was a lot of thought behind the collection of colours or collection of neutrals around the stone effects. So we were super excited to have these out there. Every single one is completely loaded and jam-packed with pigments. Now what that means is that when you're at home using it, you're getting amazing coverage with the stone effects. You're kind of getting that real artisanal experience of it being natural, the whole process being very natural and easy, a very organic kind of creative process for you to kind of experience at home. And each of these have been named by you. So as we were nearing, you know, the launch of Stone Effects, we put it out there on our social media pages asking you to help us name the 4 neutrals, and there were, I think, over 420 suggestions across Facebook and Instagram. So we thank you to all those people who actually took part in helping us name the 4. And we've come up, you know, we've kind of, at the end, we've kind of come up with some really cool names. So New Zealand made, named by New Zealand, it doesn't get any better than that. So we've got, in the light grey, I'll hold it up to the camera and see if maybe you'll be able to see it. So on the fronts of these cans, they're really beautiful cans, you know, stone effects on the front, and on the sample swatches in the squares is the actual paint itself, so you can kind of see the colour. So if you're going into store to view them, that gives you a really good indication of the colours as well. So the lightest grey is called Elephant Dust. It's a really lovely kind of stone, concretey kind of grey. And then we have black truffle. I love black truffle because it's so rich. It's great for kind of tropical style homes. It's really earthy. In this day and age where, you know, a lot of us are kind of really paying attention to our homes and wanting to turn it into, you know, very restful sanctuaries. A lot of earthy colours and greens are being used in interiors at the moment, so the black truffle really works well in those kind of spaces. So very earthy, it's a warm brown, is probably the best way to describe it. And then we have crushed graphite. Crushed graphite is our darkest grey. It's very contemporary, it's very chic, it has a lot of impact, it's, you know, nice and dark. And I think it's going to be really popular for, you know, your general kind of modern interiors, for those who are looking for something a little bit more contemporary and chic. So that's crushed graphite. And then rustic rye is also a really, really lovely one. It's the lightest one in the range. Great for coastal style interiors, French country, very, very versatile, and is a great mixer as well. So, you know, being the lightest colour, you can use this to kind of lighten elephant dust, black truffle and crushed graphite and create varying shades. So in my opinion, rustic rye is a real staple in the collection, and I'll go through and show you how the blending and the mixing works in the video today, so you'll be able to kind of see that in full force. So 4 colours, 4 staple colours for you to have access to, but from the 4 colours, when you start mixing and blending them together, the possibilities are endless. It really widens the scope on what you can create. You can also use it in conjunction with our premium chalk paints. You can use it in conjunction with our metallic glazes. So, you know, there's no limit really as to what you can, how you can use it, and the various kind of paint effects or stone effects that you can create at home. So yeah, super excited, and before I get into too much of all the creative possibilities, today's video is really going to run you through just the basics, a little bit of mixing and a little bit of blending as well, but it's really just so you can get a really good idea of the paint, how it works, and how to use it at home. Through our artisan retailers, our leading artisan retailers who are stocking the Stone Effects, and also online on our website, there's also the Artisan Stone Effects brush outs. These are mini brush outs, and they're done with the actual Stone Effects paint. So it gives you a really good idea of the collection, and you can, if you're unsure about the colours or how they're going to work in your space, there may be a brush out as an ideal starting point, because you can have that, you can walk around in your home, hold it up to your cushions, hold it up to, you know, the lighting in the space that you're planning on doing it in, especially if you're planning on doing walls, because it'll give you a really good indication of the 4 in the range and how it will work in your space. So the brush outs are also available through retailers and online on our website. Stone Effects also comes in 2 sizes. So when we got together with our retailers, and after that had a really good play with it, we did a little bit of brainstorming, and we really felt that this product, that you were really going to love this product, and that it needed to be made available in a larger quantity. So you've got your 1 litre, and you've also got your 4 litres. Now, whichever way you want to go, this will do quite a fair bit. It will get a couple of pots done, maybe some decor pieces. But if you've got a whole range of, you know, terracotta pots or outdoor pots that you want to do, if you've got a wall you want to do, if you've got a large tabletop surface and some decor and some pots that you want to do, then the 4 litre is much more economical price-wise when compared to the 1 litre. So sometimes if you're into blending and mixing, get your staple in the 4 litre and get your mixer in the 1 litre. So there's lots of ways you can kind of alternate, the amount that you get at home, depending on what you want to do and the types of stone effects you want to create at home. So that's a quick overview of the entire range and what's available. Now, you may have seen little sneak peeks on our social media site pages as well of the Artisan Stone Effects toolkit. Now, I highly recommend if you're looking at doing stone effects to get, the full toolkit. It's kind of like, going to Rainbow's End and not getting a full pass to go on all the rides. The Stone Effects toolkit gives you everything you need to basically create a wide range of effects. It's a spreading and shaping tool, so it gives you a lot of freedom to, shape and create different effects. If you're doing walls, you're definitely going to need it. I'm just going to open this one up. So it comes really cool, kind of comes in a pouch like that. Makes for a great gift as well if you're looking at gifting someone some stone effects, maybe a set of spreading tools. So they come in 3 sizes. Let me just see if I can pop these ones out and I'll show you. So this one here is a 50mm. They've all got kind of labels on them that tells you what size they are. Now all of these are real high quality tools. They've all got rosewood handles. They've got a stainless steel blade that runs all the way through the handle for, it gives it strength and performance. And these are not paint scrapers, so I just want to make that clear. It's not a paint scraper or a scraper. So you don't want to go and use a scraper with your stone effects because you're effectively going to scrape it all off. So these are, our spreading tools. They've got really great, just hold it that way, really great flex. So it allows you to burnish the paint, allows you to kind of move and just kind of have that freedom to flex and move and create lots of really cool markings and effects. So that's the 50mm. This one here, they've got like little sticky dots on them, so you just need to peel that off on the back. This one here is the 100mm, and this one's great for walls or larger surfaces. Also if you're doing things like tabletops, larger projects, even larger pots, ideal. And then you're going to need, one of these, which is a smaller one. It's quite cute. Very, very versatile in terms of what you can use it on, but great for smaller objects, great for smaller detailing, maybe the edges of pots, corners of tabletops or drawers, even on walls. It just creates different kind of markings and different effects. So the 3 are the key sizes, which will allow you loads and loads of options when it comes to manipulating your Artisan Stone Effects and creating different markings and spreading it differently. So I'm going to use these in the video today, and I love using new tools. So I'm just going to fold this back up and put it away. So I'm going to be running the demo with 2 cameras today. I'm going to have a camera here and then a camera there. So hopefully you'll be able to kind of see in good detail what I'm doing with the Artisan Stone Effects. So today I've got my tools, which I've just shown you. I've also got my StarMeister flat brush. This one is the 1.5 inch or the 2 inch, whichever one you want to use. So I kind of I like to do a combination of the 2. I've got a little roller tray here. Sometimes it's quite neat to kind of decant your stone effects into a container or a roller tray and use it from there, or you can, with that size, you can actually dip it straight into the can. So whichever way you want to go. So I'm going to get the tabletop ready and we'll get started. Exciting! Okay, so I've got 2 cameras going. I've got one here and I've got one there. So that always confuses me a little bit as to which way to look. So if you see me looking to my right, it's because I'm actually looking at the screen just to make sure that you can actually see what I'm seeing. So I find the 2 cameras works really well when we're doing these types of videos because it gives you a real good close-up of what I'm doing here on the table. Before I get into it, you don't have to remember everything in this video, although it's up online so you can always refer back to it. But if you're purchasing an Artisan Stone Effects, you should be getting one of these, which is a product data sheet, and it just runs you through a summary of everything that you need to know about the Artisan Stone Effects. So whether you're purchasing it online on our website or going into an artisan retailer to buy your stone effects, make sure that you ask for the PDS, which is the product data sheet, so that you have your notes there to refer back to as you're kind of, you know, working with your Artisan Stone Effects. So this one here has been used before. This is kind of one of my ones that I've been playing around with, but I'll pop it open. I haven't used much of it, I don't think. And that's what you can expect to see in the can. So it just looks like paint. It's actually a very textured paint, and you need to give it a really, really good stir. It's really important to stir it. It is an artisanal product, it's loaded with pigments, and you want to be able to mix and stir and disperse all of those pigments evenly. If you don't do that, when you reach down to the bottom, it's either going to be lighter or darker, depending on the can and how the pigments have settled. So always really important to give it a really, really good mix. Once you've given it a really good mix, then you're good to go. So the first one I'm going to probably try and demonstrate with is just a plain plank of wood. So I've got a plain piece of wood here. It's pretty rough. I think it's what they use to, I'm not an expert with wood, but I think it's just a piece that, like fencing kind of wood. You know, like it's pretty rustic. And the whole thesis behind the Artisan Stone Effects is there's no sanding or priming. It's very little prep, which is what we like. I'm a very impatient person, so you know, it has to be little to no prep. You know, I want to see instant results when I'm working on projects or items, and in this day and age, you know, you just don't have time to muck about. You just want to get it started, get it done, and see the results in the same day. So let's see, make sure I try and get it in both cameras. Actually, I'll put my tin over here because I think it's more important for you to be able to see the wood. So I'm going to use my 50mm, and I'm going to use, actually I might use a combination of all three. So I'm going to load up with this one. Got a generous amount of Stone Effects, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just spread it and just kind of be quite free and organic with my movements. And I'm just going to, you know, just play with creating different markings. I'm going to push it around. And you just see it. So you can see here, if I pull this, if you can see here, it's got a lot of body to it. So when I'm making markings like that, and I'm making it peak, it's actually keeping its shape. So, you know, it's really kind of luscious and thick, and you have a lot of playtime with it. So don't worry about, oh, it's gonna dry too quick. You can actually move it, or keep moving it around section by section until you're happy with the markings and the, you know, the effects that you're kind of creating. And it is a really creative product. So, and it is just as simple as spreading it. It's just easy. I don't think you can get much easier than that, really. It's like icing a cake. So I kind of like, I love little effects where, you know, kind of pushing it and then spreading it out smooth. So if you kind of angle your spreader like that, it will kind of, you'll get those kind of flat areas. So you can kind of see how, so if I kind of come here, I'm really hoping you can see this. So if I kind of press it down quite firm, I'm getting quite a flat spread. if I'm holding it up a little bit more, I'm getting more of the markings, the edges of my spreaders are kind of making those markings a little bit more. So you kind of feel like you're a bit of a Daikoku chef with your spreaders. So, and it's just what you like, there's no right or wrong. So just have a play and be generous with your stone effects. On your surface, you kind of want it thick enough that you can kind of move it around and that there's a good layer on there, but you don't want it overly thick, otherwise it's going to take a long time to dry. On items that are, have been kind of about that layer of Stone Effects paint, will probably dry within 30 minutes to an hour. If you're doing it, placing it on really, really thick, then it can take even longer. So it really depends on the amount of time that, the amount that you place on. So the drying times vary quite vastly. And on this edge, I'm just going to make sure, actually I might use this one, which is the smaller one. It's really hard to do from this angle, but you get the idea. And you can see the coverage on that raw piece of wood is quite remarkable. That's one kind of go with it. I'm going to do just a section down here, and then I'm going to show you a little blend on the other side. I'm just going to use my smaller one just to create different markings on it. I'm going to use a little bit more of this one. And it's just having a play with different pressures with your spreading tools, pressing down firmly or lightly, moving your arms around, and just moving the product. And that's really about as simple as that. So that there, I'm done. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to move that along. We're going to leave that to dry. And now I'm going to keep going on this side, but I'm going to add a little bit of Rustic Rye in there so you can kind of see how to blend. So Rustic Rye is our lightest one that we've got. I'm just going to pop that open. I'm just going to wipe my spreading tool with a rag. And you can see that I didn't take the stickers off the spreading tools. You can actually wash these with the stickers on. Over time they'll probably come off, but it'll be quite a mission to remove them, so I recommend just using it with the labels on. They're high stick labels, and they're washable, and they won't affect your work. So I'm going to now load up with this one and spread it through, and I'm going to just pick up a little bit of the Rustic Rye, and I'm just going to blend that through as well. And you can see how it's creating a varied kind of look. It gives you kind of like a really beautiful marbled kind of look, which is very reminiscent of natural stone, isn't it? So if you're doing like a wall or something like that, you might go darker on the edge and then fade it out to lighter, or even a drawer, whatever you like. So I'll take photos of these at the end so you can see. So on this corner, I might just keep it at crushed graphite. just kind of blend it through. Quite a large one. Flatten off the peaks, little to no pressure, just to create a flatter surface. I find this one is really good if you're doing tabletops, because obviously on a tabletop you don't want it too textured because you're going to be placing things on it. You want it to be reasonably level. So the larger one is really great for just flattening off those peaks. If you're wanting kind of like a, you know, flatter finish. So each tool has, you know, it's got a really good purpose in terms of its size and how you can manipulate the stone effects. So that's really, really lovely. Let me just hold it up to the camera so you can see. So if I was to hold it like that, you can see there it's got lovely variation. It's still shiny because it's still wet, but when that dries, you'll get that beautiful kind of stone variation through it. So I'm just going to finish off. I've got quite a bit on my tool, so I'm just going to finish off the edges. Just create you just really want to kind of move your arms, move your wrists, and just have a play with creating different textures. It's a lot of fun, and you know how I said you really don't, if you're using stone effects, you really do want the whole set of tools, because each one allows you to create different kind of textures and markings. So, you know, it's a lot of fun. So that is pretty much me done. That is about as simple as it gets. So we've got one side that's just got the crushed graphite, and one side that's got the crushed graphite, but it's been blended through with the rustic rye. The other thing you can do, I've got a brush here, and this is a Starmeister flat brush, and sometimes if you're working around curves or, you know, urns, I've got an urn to do today, so I'll probably use a little bit more of this, is that you can use your brush to kind of place it on, and then use your spreading tools to kind of make the markings and shape the stone effects. I wouldn't completely use this all the way through, because it could ruin your brush. And I've got a brush here somewhere actually to show you. So this one here was me using stone effects through our R&D, and you can see here how the bristles, I mean the Starmeister bristles are real high quality bristles. They're wear resistant and they hold their shape, you know, generally really well. But what's happened is, because it's a textured paint and there are granules in it, and when you go to use it you can feel the granules in the paint. All the granules have kind of built up at the base of the paintbrush, and it's created it kind of like a flaring shape like that. So although you can use your brush to stipple and just place the stone effects on, I wouldn't use it to kind of spread and create markings, because it will ruin your brush. That's what these spreading tools are for. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and we will come back, just see a little hole there, and have a look at it. So it's drying really quickly. It's a beautiful day out today. And you can see here, I'm just going to hold it up to this camera. It's starting to dry already. You can see where it's a little bit shiny is where it's still kind of drying. And this is my kind of blended area. So what I'm going to do here is, just as it's about to dry, I'm going to grab my large one, my 100mm one, and I'm just going to flatten off those peaks. So you can kind of see, I hope you can see, how that creates those beautiful kind of markings. And I'm pressing quite firm, and I'm just flattening off those peaks to create that kind of effect. You're more or less kind of almost burnishing it. Putting quite strong pressure down, really using the strength of your spreader to create smooth and rustic markings. So gently. I'm just pressing quite firm, and you can hear it. It's quite satisfying. And then that just kind of is all I'm doing. The other parts are dry. Just those areas where it's a little bit thick, where it's still a little bit wet, and then I can kind of flatten it off to kind of create those beautiful markings. And this side here is already more or less dry. So I'm just going to give the side a little bit more time to dry, and then I'll show you close up what we're looking at. It was a plank of wood, and now it looks like a slab of stone. Very cool. Now, with something like this, say you were doing a tabletop or the top of a sideboard or a surface that's going to get used quite a bit. What I would do is, because you're playing around with the textures and that, is just give it a light sand. And the sanding is nothing other than to get rid of any loose bits that haven't kind of, you know, as you're playing with it, as you're moving the granules and everything, it's kind of moving around, and there may be some loose bits. So by giving it a light sand, and I've just used 240 grit, you can use 240, 180, it just kind of removes any loose bits. What I would do is I would lacquer the top. So this is things like coffee table tops. If you decide to do your dining table, I've just done my kitchen bench, which has come up really amazing, and I absolutely love it. And I've done the same thing where I kind of worked it and played with Stone Effects on the bench, moved it around, blended some colours together, and then I gave it a light sand just to remove any loose bits, and then sealed with lacquer. So anything that I think needs cleaning, you know, either on a daily basis or on a regular basis, the Stone Effects is really matte, and it's, you know, quite textured, and it feels like stone. So by putting the lacquer over the top, it makes it easier to kind of wipe down and clean. Bearing in mind that it is a textured surface, and it does feel like stone. So if you're doing something super rustic and you need to wipe and clean it a lot, there's a risk of it, what I call eating your chucks cloth. It's basically, if you clean it with a chucks cloth, because it's quite gritty and quite stony, it's going to wear down your chucks cloth really quick. So just keep that in mind. But by putting a coat of lacquer, it does allow you know, your wiping and cleaning to be a little bit easier, and also allows you to kind of slide over the surface because of that lacquered finish over the top. So I've got some satin lacquer here. Now all the Stone Effects dries matte, and it has a really lovely kind of stone, you know, matte stone look to it. You can adjust the sheen with it. I mean, all of our products are, you know, every time there's a new product, we always think of ways that we can use it with our existing range to kind of even take it to the next level. So with the Artisan Stone Effects, you can use it with the lacquer, and you may use it with the lacquer because you're doing a surface that needs to be wiped and cleaned regularly, like a coffee table or a dining tabletop. Or it might be because you want a different sheen. You might want it to be shiny, you might want it to look like a polished stone finish. So you might use gloss lacquer or satin lacquer. I'm using satin lacquer on this, just giving my lacquer a really good stir. What I'm going to do, stir your lacquer really, really well. They all need a good stir because there's always settling at the bottom of them. And then I'm just going to run my satin lacquer over the top. And I'm going to do just the crushed graphite side so you can see the difference between that and the side that I blended. We'll leave that one matte so you can see the difference. So I'm just going to keep it in one direction. I'm going to brush it kind of in all directions as I'm working it, and then just take my pressure off my brush and pull it around in one direction. The reason why I'm kind of brushing it in all directions is because it's quite textured, and I need it to get into everything. Okay, so now I'm going to do a second coat of lacquer, just on the top here, and I'm just going to make sure it's really thin and just working it out of the texture so there's no build-up of the lacquer anywhere. I just want to give it, you know, a nice kind of surface and a bit of a sheen. Okay, so it's all dry, and I'll take some really good photos of this so you can actually see close up. But what the satin lacquer does is it gives it a really nice kind of surface. It's quite silky. Still feels like stone, but it's just a little bit smoother and silkier. This feels kind of matte and just kind of like if you're feeling raw stone. And it looks matte. It's beautiful. It depends on which way you want to, you know, what project it is and how you want it to look. So you can see there, it's got a real sheen to it, whereas in that one, does not. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So great for shelving even. You know, if you're doing some shelving in your home and you want to create a bit of a stone look to the shelving, perfect product for it. I mean, from a plank of wood to that, you know, all of a sudden it looks like stone. And I know so here's a really novel idea. Your empty premium chalk paint or velvet luxe tins. So this is used to be a carbon black. I've washed it, given it a really good wash. Wash, you know, the inside really well. It's got this beautiful kind of brassy goldy rim on it. So if we did stone effects on here, I think it's a great way to kind of reuse and repurpose the empty cans, and I'm all for reusing and recycling and upcycling and all that sort of stuff. So I think these would make really great Christmas gifts too. So we are going, what shall we use? Let's do a blended one on a whole piece. So let's do Rustic Rye. And I've got elephant dust here, so maybe we'll mix a little bit of that in. So let's go. So I've washed off as much as I can. You can see there's a little bit of a sticker here, but the thing is, I kind of wanted to leave the sticker on. I went to start to try and peel it. It's very sticky, and it doesn't come off very cleanly. So, but it's actually a really good, I think, example of people who might be in the middle of ripping wallpaper, in a damaged or uneven surface, of how the stone effects can actually override that and make it like a non-event basically. So I'm going to start off with my Rustic ride. I'm going to add a little bit of my elephant dust in there and just kind of mix it and blend it on the tin. This metal edge down the bottom nice and clean, because I think it's quite a nice little detail in there as well. And I'm going to do the same with the top. So a really great way to use up your empty Artisan paint cans and turn them into something beautiful quickly and easily. I love it. So you can just give it a little bit of interest here and there. I like using the flat brush because it gives me quite a bit of control to do the stippling. So you're just basically disturbing the surface and creating those stipple marks. You know, normally we would throw this out, and now it's looking actually really lovely and luxurious, and would make a great decor. If you've already got a planted pot like I have, a really good tip is just to scoop the soil, a little bit of soil out from the top, and then do your stone effects, and then put your soil back on the top to kind of fill it in. So that's a really good tip. So I'm going to do this one in elephant dust, and I'm going to go ahead and dip my spreading tool straight in there. See that. It's actually quite good with this edge. You can just kind of like spread it like so, real quick. And I'm just going to try and keep as much stone effects off my actual lavender plant as I can. Give it a really, really good clean. I can see I haven't really cleaned my pot that well. But you definitely want to get rid of any dirt and loose dirt and grease as possible. I'm going to, yeah, that's good. It's quite hard to do it on camera, to be honest, because you're kind of trying to make sure that you can see it and that I can see what I'm doing as well. So I'm going to use my larger one and just kind of go in there with it. then I'm done. I love the smell of lavender. It's got such a lovely strong smell. I might have to prune the edges off. A couple of them have some stone effects on it. It's super quick. Cleaned my tools. They come off really easy. It's a water-based product. You know, once you finish kind of giving them a clean, just give them a dry and they're good to go again. If you've been working quite a long time outside with your tools and the product is really dried on there, I just use like a little scrubby and give it a nice good clean. And it's a real no fuss kind of cleanup, which I like. I mean, nobody really likes cleaning up after painting, do they? So that's that. Now, so this is a glass jar. Now, I just wanted to use a glass jar because I wanted to show you how it does actually stick to pretty much any surface. So the only thing you want to make sure of on your surface is that it's clean, it's you know, it doesn't have wax or grease on it. Give it a really good clean. Got these little curves in here, and although the stone effects will get through it, you know, allow me to kind of shape different kind of, make different markings on it. A brush is easier when it comes to kind of ribbed areas like this, details like this. So I'm going to use my Stylemister 2-inch, 1.5-inch flat brush, and I'm going to do this one in Rustic Rye because I've got a place in my home that I want to use this in. And with a glass or glossy surfaces, I would recommend putting a thin coat on first. Spreading tools it's really satisfying to use it and just kind of watch it. It's quite effortless, but like I said, I chose this to do because it's got such interesting detailing. It's got lots of curves and bevels, and it's a good way to show you how to use a combination of the two, because you'll see that on our product data sheet that we recommend using both the spreading tools and a brush depending on your item. So I'm just going to put like a thin layer of this on. You know, it's a glass surface, and this is the same. I know people want to use this on glazed ceramic pots and all that sort of stuff as well. So anything super shiny or a challenging surface, just get a really good quick first coat on. I wouldn't play too much with the textures or creating the textures just yet. You just really want to override that surface with your first coat, keeping it as thin as you can, but you want to cover everything. And then just leave that to dry, and then on the second coat you can actually have a really good play with creating textures with the stone effects. So first coat, just put it on nice and quick and easy. And then second coat, you can have a play. And just as you're putting that first coat on, just have a look around for, you know, any really thick areas that you might have put on. That often happens with a brush because you're unable to kind of spread it thinly. The brush will kind of allow you to kind of put it on quite thickly and just kind of flatten off those areas just so you can have a fast drying time. I've got my first coat on here. It's a glass surface, so I've just done one thin coat, and then now I'm going to actually have a play with my texture. So I want to just make sure I get rid of that kind of glassy, that glass surface and that really slippy kind of surface. so that I can kind of manipulate it easier to create different textures. So I'm going to start off by just filling in the gaps around here with my Rustic Rye, and I'm just going to use my paintbrush for that area, my Style Master brush. Just get that part done. Quite amazing to think that, you know, you can turn something like glass into a stone effect. I mean, that just blows my mind in so many ways. And I'm looking to just fill the gaps in, making sure everything's covered. Again, you want to just, as you're kind of covering the item with stone effects, you're also, you know, creating a seal over it, and so you don't want any water or anything to get in it. I mean, if it's indoors, it probably, you know, like a decor item like this will be inside my home. It won't matter so much. But if you're doing something outdoors, definitely you want to make sure everything's covered. And then now I can kind of grab my spreading tools and have a play with creating, you know, really different textures and spreading it out and having some fun with it. See, I missed a little bit before. So we're done. This used to be a glass urn, and now it's looking very stone-like. It's got the lighter Stone Effects one on called Rustic Rye. It's more or less dry. I am rushing this whole project, but I just wanted to talk through around some colouring. So if you decide that actually I would really love a green stone effect, maybe a pink one, purple, you can paint over these very easily with either Velvet Luxe or premium chalk paint. I would probably go with Velvet Luxe because then you won't have to wax or lacquer over the top of it, and you can keep to that nice beautiful matte finish. Or you can chalk paint and place some lacquer over it. You can also use the premium chalk paints as a bit of a decorative tool as well. So I've got here old denim, and I'm going to show you how to do a wash. Okay, so I've got my Rustic Rye urn here, and I'm going to do a quick wash on it just to give it a little bit of a decorative finish. So I've got my old denim premium chalk paint. I'm going to grab a little bit out. I'm going to put it on my baking paper. I'm going to add some water and water it down, about 50-50, a little bit stronger than 50-50. So maybe like 60-40, something like that. And basically what I'm looking to do is create a very, very faint, subtle dye. It needs to be runny on the paper. And you're going to need some clean and free rags as well. And all I'm going to do, so I'm going to grab my mixed chalk paint with water, and I'm going to brush it on my Rustic Rye, and then I'm going to just rag it off. And it's going to get rid of any loose bits and really just kind of, I might even just let it just drip here and there. You want to make sure that it's completely dry, especially with pieces with detailing like this. I think, you know, like doing a nice little wash on it can be very, very cool. But you just want to make sure that your wash is really faint, really, really watered down, so that it doesn't overpower. You can do this in any colour. You know, you could do it in a green. Liberty would be quite nice. Up to you. We like to give people the freedom to create whatever it is that they want. With a few tools, a little bit of know-how, you can start seeing things completely differently. Very, very cool. And then now I might actually even do a little bit of, I'm just having a look at my studio to see what colours I can use. Use Liberty. And I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to just add a little bit of Liberty on my baking paper. Water, about 60-40 roughly, but all you're looking for is like runny, and you want it to be like a dye consistency. You want it to be subtle. It's running all over my paper. Just try it, and I've just tried that and I think I watered it down too much. So it's a bit like baking. Add a little bit more paint in, a bit of this and a bit of that, and you're away. So let's try this one. That's better. So I've got my Liberty. I'm just going to place it here and there. Oh, that's so cool. And you just see it transforming like straight away, which is really, really awesome. I'm just going to turn it upside down because I know I've missed some areas on purpose because I knew I was going back over with Liberty. Whole new world of possibilities when it comes to working with stone effects, you know, and adjusting, manipulating it with chalk paint, through coloured washes. So something like that. I mean, I'm going to leave this as it is because this is going to be an indoor decor. But if I wanted to do this for outdoors, I really loved this effect, and I wanted it to kind of last, you know, I would place some matte lacquer over the top of it to seal that colour wash in. I don't have to because, you know, Stone Effects is an indoor-outdoor product, and by doing a colour wash with the premium chalk paint, if I put this outside over time, that wash works kind of almost like a, you know, it'll kind of have a natural kind of French fade and age to it. It will kind of naturally kind of wear off or kind of, yeah, just age really naturally. So it's completely up to you whether if you want the colour washes to stay put, then apply a matte lacquer over the top. If you are okay with, you know, natural aging, then do your colour wash and then just put it straight outside, and you're good to go. So that's pretty much that one done. Super easy. You may have seen this come up on social media. It's a vase. I often use it to stage things and photos, but after I'm done today, it's actually going into my home, and I'm going to use black truffle for this one. Now, all of my cans have been pre-stirred before the video, just so you know. So that's why you don't see me stirring the other ones. But always stir your cans. Okay, so this is like a glazed vase. It's super shiny. You can see that it's some type of ceramic. and I'm going to be using this one and the smaller one possibly. So this is black truffle. Just on this little rim, I'm just going to use my brush to finish that off. And you can kind of stipple it too, so you can kind of see if I stipple it, which is like a stabbing motion, it kind of keeps those markings. So if you like that kind of more rustic look, then you might do a little bit of stippling like that here and there. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to speed this process up, and I'm going to leave this. Normally if you were doing this at home, you would apply it and then just go and have a cup of tea or something, you know, like a quick cup of tea, and come back, and you want to catch it while it's half drying. If you're really impatient, yes, you can hair dry it, but just move it around so you're not localizing it. So I've got just a hairdryer here. I'm going to turn it on to hot, and I'm just going to move it around. Okay, so you can see I've kind of just dried it around a little bit with a hairdryer, and as it's half drying, you can see some areas going a little bit matte. And at that point, I've just got a little bit of product left on my spreading tool, so you kind of want to disturb it and move it around again. And it kind of pulls it around and creates more chunky, kind of rustic texture. So it's going to allow me to create really chunky texture. So you can see there, because I'm moving it around and it's kind of half dry, I'm disturbing it. And that just makes it super rustic. So if you're really into kind of rustic kind of marking, just put it on, wait for it to kind of half dry, come back and disturb it again. And as you're moving it around, you may get areas where it's a little bit more smooth because you're kind of combining the stone effects together to make larger kind of granuled looks. But don't worry about that because you can fill in the gaps on the second coat. So we're going for something super rustic, and even kind of going side to side, basically stippling with your spreading tool will allow you to do that as well. You can see where I'm grabbing it and taking the paint off. So just be careful when you're doing that, but I'll go and put some paint on it in a moment. And then with my larger one, I might just, wherever it's too much texture and you want to kind of flatten it off, you can use your larger one just to kind of flatten off some of the peaks and give it, you know, just a combination of that super rustic in some areas where it's nice and smooth. So you can see there, it's got some beautiful kind of rustic texture on it. And I'm just going to keep overworking it. What you're not supposed to do with paint is touch it when it's drying, but that's exactly what I'm doing to get even more rustic texture. I'm going to use my larger one this time to get even more. I want it to be really organic and rustic. Oh, that looks pretty good to me. And then I'm just going to touch up the top area where my hands have been all over the wet paint, and up here I'm just going to stipple it. Yep. And then I'm just going to leave that to dry. Guys, so that pretty much wraps it up. I've shown you today how to use the stone effects, just some basic key things that you need to know. Although there's not a lot you need to know. I mean, it's really just a matter of putting it on the surface and having a play with it. We're super excited to get this out there. We're so excited for you to use it. It is an incredible product and we're so proud of it. So our retailers are just so excited to show you in store what the possibilities are. So if you are close to an Artisan retailer, pop in, have a look, have a touch, have a feel of the stone effects, and they will have the tools and brush outs and everything that I've mentioned today in store. But yeah, check in, if you've got a local Artisan retailer, check in with your retailer first to see if they stock it. But you've been able to see today, I purposely chose different surfaces. So we've got metal from the premium chalk paint can, we've got terracotta from my plant pots, glazed ceramic vase, what else have we got? And a glass urn. So, all very different kind of surfaces, all kind of transformed into Artisan Stone Effects. So if you've watched this far, thank you for watching, and I will catch you soon. Have fun painting.